Hey, AfterBuzzers, welcome to AfterBuzz TV's breakdown of Saturday Night Live. We're going to be talking about Season 44, Episode 7, hosted by Claire Foy, with musical guest Anderson Paak. We got some Queen jokes, obviously, to talk about. We're going to do Anatomy of a Sketch, talk about one of the sketches a little bit more in depth. Some huge cameos to talk about in this one, too, so stick around.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
I've been feeling kind of cooped up. I'm gonna get some fresh air.
That's how you pivot.
Hey, wait,
just a common praising of one another.
There's more. Claire Foy isn't the only queen. Let's just say that.
This is true.
But she is a queen.
This is true. We're talking about Steph, obviously, guys.
Yeah.
Welcome back, guys. We are back after the holiday. Did you have a nice Thanksgiving?
Oh my gosh, she was so good.
Cool.
I ate myself into a coma.
Good. As you should. I
Yeah.
texted Steph, actually. I kept singing the turkey dance song from the Steve Carell episode. So I think my friends loved that.
The world doesn't deserve Amy.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. They don't deserve you either. Steph, go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's up, you guys? I'm Steph. I'm excited to talk about this episode because I was like a negative Nancy with it. But I loved Claire Foy.
Fair. I'm Amy Maestri, and I agree with everything Steph just said. So so what were your expectations going into this episode?
Sometimes with actors, I get a little bit worried. I don't know, like, if they'll be able to, like, become more fun and just, like, dive into the whole SNL.
Like more serious actors?
More serious actors. And so I was a little bit worried, but I love her, and I feel like she's really dynamic. So I was excited for it, and I feel like they've built up some good momentum this season, more so than last season for me. So I was excited for it.
Yeah, I think my concern going into it was that SNL has the tendency to, like, when someone has a thing, they just write to that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, there's going to be, like, a ton of Queen stuff and a ton of British stuff, but I'm glad they didn't really do too much. A lot of times they kind of go too heavy on it, and I'm like, okay, we get it. But, yeah, let's just jump right into the cold open. Speaking of cameos, we got Ben Stiller coming back to do Michael Cohen. We had like 20 million guest appearances. Not so much cameos in this, but yeah, just people coming in. Yeah, Fred Armisen. So what did you think overall on the cold open?
I like this cold open. I still think Trump's character could. I feel like he just has to study Kate McKinnon. The writers do too. I think I need a little bit more. I know because he's so eccentric. He does the punchline of the joke himself by just existing as a human being. But I still think that the moment Kate came in as Rudy Giuliani, is like, this is what a character should look like. She just kills every character she does. I loved the Vladimir Putin and the leader. I don't know if that what he.
Oh, the crown prince.
Saudi.
Yeah.
What a good joke to have. Obviously, it's such a serious situation with Kamal Khashoggi, the journalist who was killed by their government, but I think they did it in just enough tastefulness.
Yeah, that's one of those tricky ones where you're just like, how far can we go with this? I think honestly most of my favorite stuff was at the end. I always love getting to see Kate do Giuliani, but I think as a whole sketch, the idea of these dictators just like laughing about like what a little bitch Trump is really made me laugh, and Trump kind of trying to be like, no, I'm in on the joke, I get it.
And then he's like, oh, I get to hang out with you and you're actually rich.
I think this was again one of those things where I just don't like when it's Trump's gonna stand and talk and then 10 different people are gonna come and go, because it gets to be a little bit like too much, and they tend to like not really have like one kind of narrative for the sketch.
True.
But everyone's performance in this was so good that it made me like it more too. And Kate, I've brought this up before, I think, but her impressions, like, I know Tina Fey in her book Bossy Pants brought up that like there's the two different styles of impressions. You have the Will Ferrells and the Daryl Hammonds. The Will Ferrells are the ones that take that weird thing and make it like crazier, and the Daryl Hammonds are the ones that are like, oh my god, that's terrifying, it's so similar to the person. And Kate does both
That is
so
an
well.
amazing point, Amy. Because I was just thinking, when you first said the eccentric, the Will Ferrell, it comes to mind all of the newer ones she's done this year.
Yeah.
But but then when you said the more serious and spot on, I feel like Hillary is kind of a middle point where it's so spot on.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, she has a really great way of like finding that middle ground in a lot of them, whereas like Giuliani and Sessions, like she just makes them so weird, and it's so good and delightful to watch. We hate Kate McKinnon.
Yeah,
on the show.
clearly. She's not a goddess or anything.
She's the worst. Let's jump into the monologue, which was just kind of Claire Foy talking without jokes.
Yeah, it started really, really. She is one of the most charming people I've ever seen on screen. Like,
Agreed.
you have to like her, and she's one of those people that I think that she's like that off the screen. Like, she just seems like a good person. I did feel like I could have written, like, I would have written jokes like that for her, and I'm not a comedy writer. Does
Don't
that
you
make
put
sense?
yourself down. You could have
Like,
written
they
better
weren't
jokes than
funny.
that monologue.
Yeah, they were fine. They weren't bad, but they just weren't good.
Yeah, I think your point about how likable she is really saved it, because she's just very, yeah, like, you're just kind of like, you almost feel like she's just talking to you. Like,
Yeah.
she's very lovely in this. And I think it started funny with where she's just like, oh yeah, the Brexit stuff.
Yeah.
But like, how are things here? You guys, they good? You good? And I almost thought it was going to kind of go on that trail at first. Her story was fun. I liked the story of her meeting the, like, it was funny, but like in
didn't.
like a huh kind of way. So I guess maybe that's not funny. But I don't know. That's what I did when I watched it. But I think, again, it's because she's so likable. I just wanted to like her for it.
It's the most spot on emotion ever.
Just a quick little.
Oh man, so true.
And, you know, I'm actually curious to see who wrote the line in the monologue. It's like when you're at a party and you're drunk, but you see that person that's even drunker. Because that sounds like one of the, like, Che analogies from Update.
Oh yeah.
Like, very much like he's gotten so good at those jokes on Update where it's like this if that were to happen. Like, every time he has a lot of those, and I'm kind of wondering
that was
if he had a
definitely her
hand in that.
stronger joke.
Yeah. The only joke. Correction. Oh, so let's go to the first sketch of the night, which was actually a digital short, the Netflix advertisement. What were your thoughts on it?
I like the premise because obviously we all have thought of this. We know it is true. Everything you can't look at Netflix and not be like, there's kind of some irony going on here.
Yeah.
What they've done, like, you can't catch up.
No.
Everything is good too. Like, so there's such good, great content being created every single day. But they've done a Netflix sketch like this before where they're just accepting every pitch except for the one I believe. I know South Park's done an episode like that too. Maybe I'm confusing the two, but it's like kind of an obvious. It wasn't that unique of a premise, which is good sometimes, and I think it was fine.
Yeah. I think you know what, I had forgotten about it, but I think what you might be talking about, didn't Seth bring it up in his monologue?
Maybe
he was saying something about like how many shows there were and like how bad was his pitch that they didn't like pick up his show or something.
I think you're right.
I feel like that's what it was. I'd forgotten about that. But yeah, it's like true. There's too many shows, but I think the highlight of it for me was just that Kate playing Ruth, the only woman who watched one show.
I love that part. And I liked all the outside people, like, not in terms of, you know what I mean? Like, not the Netflix people.
Yeah. I think that was, that's a good point. I think that's where the sketch really, like, had legs underneath it. And, like, Leslie in a van getting batteries. Super funny idea. But again, like, the dialogue of just like, whoa, did I hit that dude on a bike? I'm like, did a 10-year-old write that?
Yeah.
Like, find a more clever way to say that, not just like, oh, hey, audience, Leslie just ran over a man on the bike, in case you couldn't figure it out. So, pissed me off. But yeah, I think overall funny idea, but like you said, not all that original. But I kind of want to see it. I want to watch a show of Ruth watching a show.
I agree. I think there's more there for that character.
Oh, okay. So let's talk about Morning Joe. We've had a bunch of these in the past, and so Mika, isn't it? Yeah, Mika and Joe, they actually got married. So, what did you think of this one?
I think Kate and
Alex. I always do the same thing.
Alex, he's been really great this season, but
yeah,
they have such good chemistry. Such good chemistry. The scene where they're inching closer to each other's lips and like still talking, I don't know how they didn't break them.
Yeah, they have both been incredible. I don't think I've seen them break once when they're doing this, and they always are just right up against each other.
And her character, I think, is very well developed. The way she drinks her Jamba Juice, the way she's like looking and rolling her eyes, her just quick lines and expressions are really, I think she's a really well written character.
Totally, yeah. Everything about her is just, and again, this is kind of one of those impressions that's like, it's her very much, but it's also like she's taking those weird little things and exaggerating them so much.
Yeah.
I like this one made me laugh, but I was kind of let down because I want to see these two outside of the newsroom. And this was a really good opportunity for it because they just got married. I wanted to see their wedding reception.
I keep saying this, but I'll say it again. You guys, hire Amy.
Come on. Can you be my agent, actually?
Definitely.
Perfect.
I don't usually like to sell things, but I will sell.
But I was like, because I was thinking about it, and I was like, I get it. Like, they don't normally do that. If they're on a news show, you do the news show. That's the whole point of, having that sketch be there. But I think they're so good together. Like we said, their chemistry and everything that they do, I want to see them outside of that now.
I'd love to see them outside of it.
And their wedding reception was probably just such a disaster.
It was probably so... I wish I was in the room.
Oh, same. I wish we'd gotten to see it in a sketch. But, Lauren, next time, call me.
Call me,
Oh, and I love getting to see Melissa in that, too. I think she brought a lot of good energy to that as the young...
Oh, yeah. I closed my eyes during it. I do that when she comes on the screen, when she does roles, because she literally sounds exactly like the character she takes on. And I don't think people realize that when you close your eyes, you hear Octavia.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's insane.
And I thought it was a really thoughtful way to jab at her, like, kind of quirks of, like, repeating, I'm here for change, I'm gonna shake things up, or whatever it may be. But also, it's like, there's nothing horrible to say about her. She's really trying.
Well, I also like whenever they kind of hit something on the nose, but they're meaning to do it. When she comes out, she's just like, I'm different. Anytime they kind of just say what everyone's thinking, like in one of those quick little beats, I always really like that.
Because it is true, when you're running a campaign, you really have to force your taglines that you want people to remember you by. Literally every speech you do, every post you do has to be just marked up with the personality you want people to perceive you.
Exactly, yeah. And Melissa's nailing it. And then, of course, Claire in this, which we didn't get to talk about, Claire's performance, who I underused in the first half, but I think her comedic timing was really solid at the end, with Alex just talking over her and her just kind of stopping, being like, oh, I can say anything. Donald Trump's a werewolf. He's a gay werewolf. Gay Mexican werewolf.
I love that.
So props to her for her timing on that. Because I think that was the first time, like, because, in the monologue, they didn't give her anything to work with. And so it was nice at the end of that, seeing her like, oh, yeah, she's got some comedic chops there with the timing at the end of those.
And it is true. When she says good morning, she sounded like Princess Diary Queen, real life Julie Andrews.
Oh,
when
yeah.
She said, good morning. You classy woman.
Just listen to it on repeat.
Yeah.
So we're going to skip over the war and words, and we'll break that down a little bit later in the anatomy of a sketch. So let's go to Dad Christmas. we just giggle under our breaths.
It just like not. I don't. Did any joke hit for you?
The what does Jimmy Buffett have to do with my dad? Everything now. I think every joke was like halfway there. It was like, this is one of those sketches where specificity is key. And I think that they had a lot of the specifics, but then the joke itself never quite got to where it should be. I said that very syncopated.
That makes perfect sense to me when you say that. That's kind of the words I didn't know how to describe what I felt with each joke.
I have words.
I can continue.
Yeah, I think it was all like halfway there for me. Like again, like but some of the lines like that one, and then like somewhere in Florida but without a beach. You know, like there were all those things there, but yeah, I think there was something that just kind of missed on a lot of those jokes. But before let's talk about the musical guest. Before we do that, I think you have a message for our viewers.
Yeah, you guys, thanks for tuning in. You guys know that we're on the comedy section of AfterBuzz, but we produce after shows for nearly all of your favorite TV shows, dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. There's no network that works harder to serve television fans, but we're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels, and by subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, don't be, because they're optional. So hit that subscribe button now for this channel and check out our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did so in the comments and we'll thank you on air. For now, thanks for being the best fans and for helping us be the ESPN of TV talk. We love you guys.
Yes.
And there was some people in the chat last time that were really funny. And we got some good comments, but I know sorry you guys, we had to repost the video, but we did see Alto Keys' original comments. Hey.
Heyo. Yeah, thank you guys for always tuning in, and yeah, make sure you post some comments to tell us how good we are afterwards.
We love it.
We don't have enough. We're too humble.
Compliments. It's holiday season. Give them out like candy.
Like candy. I'm glad we're not thirsty at all right now. So let's pause for a drink.
Quenching.
So let's talk about Anderson .Paak. What an adorable, lovely, fun man. I loved him.
I love him. I've liked his music for a while now, and he did just drop an album recently, which you guys, if you haven't listened to it, you definitely should. I think he's such a unique artist. He's so funky and fun, but also like R&B and hip-hop vibes as well, and I love that he brought Kendrick Lamar on stage.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know he could play the drums.
You don't see that a lot.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Dude, you're awesome.
I really loved both. Yeah, it was cool getting to see him play the drums on the first one, because again, I had no idea that he played the drums. And then on the second, just both of them were just really fun, high energy, and he's just one of those performers you like watching. You know, like Definitely. I'll just watch him dance around that
smile.
stage.
It's like, what?
He was just having so much
fun. Loved it.
All right, let's talk about your boys. Weekend update.
Oh yes.
Do you have any standout jokes this week?
Yeah, I thought this was the past 2 weeks. It's always our favorite, but it wasn't as strong for me as usual, like where I'm laughing the entire time. This one I thought Michael Che, they both are hilarious, but he had some really good one-liners. And they were simple, which I kind of liked that when he does that, when he was referencing a 2,800-pound cow that made the headlines earlier this week. An Australian rancher says that a 6-foot-tall steer weighing over 1 ton is too big to go in the slaughterhouse. Yeah, me too, said 3 cows in a trench coat. Like,
I love it because we need more jokes like that right now. Like, I get we're going to do the political commentary stuff, but when you just have like a silly, fun joke like that, it's just so delightful.
Exactly. It was just like this breath of fresh air that I was missing.
Yeah. Well, and this one was still political, but still just silly when they were talking about the Trump baby balloon, and Colin's joke was about how, and then in the Thanksgiving Day parade, they showed Garfield, and he was really offended by the fact that they were calling him a giant orange pussy.
Yes, I forgot about that. Hilarious.
Loved that.
I actually got to see that balloon in person. I was covering Politicon, and they had the original baby Trump balloon in house, and it was awesome.
Awesome. It was huge.
It was huge.
So let's talk about the two guests. So Leslie.
I love Leslie Jones, and I don't mind when she's herself on Weekend Update because it's obvious, it's apparent she's doing it on purpose. Obviously where I draw an issue is when I feel like, I don't know if it's a lack of effort to really get into character or just she's still learning because she's not like a character comedian. But I thought it was funny, and I thought it was she just makes me smile on Weekend Update.
Yeah. It's funny, I was talking with a friend about her recently. I love Leslie Jones as a human and as a stand-up. I don't love her on SNL.
Yeah.
The same reasons, like you said, in the sketches, where it's very apparent that she just can't go outside of her character. But even in this, she kept messing up her lines, and I was just like, girl, this is your time. This is what you do.
The teleprompter must really throw her off.
Yeah, it could be something with that, or who knows. I mean, there's so many things going on, but I just felt like, and also to be perfectly honest, that's just not my favorite style of comedy. Someone yelling at me, like that doesn't. There's nothing that was like that great for me about that. I did love her interaction with Che at the end, though, when Jost was talking about like, hey, yeah, there's no woman who's in her 50s that looks as good as you. He just keeps naming people, and then he gets to Judge Judy. And she like lunges over Jost. I loved that.
That was great. I think Che and Jost do the best like complimentary style character when they have special guests on Weekend Update. I love when they egg them on and they're like, really? Or like or acting like it's normal, like they're a real person. They really make me as a viewer think it's really happening. Yeah,
they do a really good job of deciding like who's gonna be paired with who too. Like, because like you said, like they're both so good with like balancing each other out, but then also like who's gonna come over to Jost, who's gonna come over to Che. Speaking of which, Jost did not like Jules, who sees things a little differently. So this is a new character from Beck. Jules, real douchebag.
Yeah, horrible.
What a well done portrayal of just like the worst hipster ever who sees things a little differently.
I love Beck Bennett. I think he is underused, honestly, to me. And he is one of those cast members that could definitely branch out into more movies because he's hilarious and a good actor. I thought this character was so annoying but so funny, and he just really, I think, executed well.
Yeah. And I love that, like, because this is the first time we've seen this character, I love that the first question asked was about the economy, and he proceeded to talk about how when kids would play when they were little, he would make hats. Such a great opening line for a character. You know everything you need to know about him at that point.
It kind of reminds me of my sister. When kids would play, she would write books for children as a child. We should have known. Like, she was ahead of her time.
This is the counterpart. I think Jules may have a soulmate out there.
I agree.
Just saying. I really, this is a character too that I think I'd love to see on Update, but I'd also love to see him in a sketch. I'd like to see him interact with others
and have like his own store or something.
Yeah. Like he'd be great in like a Fish Out of Water sketch where he's just that one weirdo. Mm-hmm. But I really love that.
They probably will. I think
that'll be one that you can eventually like work out of there. Like, I mean, I know the real people, but when they do the Trump sons and they've like kind of found ways to integrate them here and there into sketches, I feel like you can do that with him too. So that'll be exciting. And then I liked the little bit that they did for Bush at the end because it shows that we did have presidents up until now that can laugh at themselves. So it was nice being reminded of that.
It is really scary that we have people that literally will say that the news is fake or all of this stuff that's really harmful and detrimental. Like we saw a journalist got killed in Ohio, I believe it was, or but it's just like you have to laugh at yourself. Only dictatorships like in other countries don't allow people to make jokes about them.
Yeah.
AKA North Korea. It's not normal that it happens. So
Yeah.
I like that they pay tribute because even if people are Democrats or Republicans, you can still find the good in some, like focus on the positive.
Exactly. I think this is a great way to bring that in at the end. Just like a quick little reminder. Doesn't matter if you agreed with his politics or not. He was a friendly guy.
Yeah. Came
on, laughed at himself, poked fun at himself, and that's that. Doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat.
Totally. I saw this tweet from, I forget who it was, but he was saying, I can't believe how many followers I've lost from just like posting RIP President Bush or something simple like that. There was no like, I loved his politics. Like he is a Democrat, the person who tweeted it. And it's like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We can't be like that divided.
Yeah. Like, get over it, people. We're going to laugh at a baby Trump balloon because it's funny.
We know humor.
And you know what was not humor? The Willy Wonka sketch.
Seriously.
So I mean, the whole premise, it's the grandparents, which I feel like they've done a lot of sketches about like the grandparents who never get out of bed for Willy Wonka. I was excited. I thought this was going to be something for Claire Foy when she came in as Charlie. I was like, cool, we're going to feature her in this. Nope, just ended up being two of the grandparents boning while the other two were still in bed. And then it never went anywhere.
It is a good premise, which I do think they've touched on it a little bit in the past. But it is true. It's such a perfect movie that you almost don't allow yourself to question things like that. But that is a scene where I'm like, is this concerning or is this how the times were? Like, am I so ignorant? I didn't know we had to bunk up together like this.
Just four 90-year-olds just hanging in bed together.
Just like in the grossest nightgowns too.
Straight up. I just think, like I said, it's a funny idea. I just don't think there's much that if they built up to it, but it was like right away, they're just like, good night, and start like macking on each other. And I'm like, so this is going to be the whole sketch now. Heidi was my saving grace. Her physical comedy of like bouncing her head against the headboard was my saving grace because I thought that was really funny how hard she committed to it.
Everything she does is good.
Perfection.
Perfection.
So let's go into the HSN, the Home Shopping Network. Cecily comes on with her adorable minis, but she forgets them in the Uber and loses her mind. Cecily is a goddess.
I did really like this sketch, actually. I thought Claire Foy was amazing in it. She sounds exactly like Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah, she does. She needs to do a romantic comedy down south.
But 80 just took the cake for me. When she came back with the snowman, but she was just so funny because she was right on the verge of where you could tell she was having so much fun with this sketch.
Yeah.
But really executed her lines perfectly, and I think that mix is so fun as a viewer.
Oh, totally. That's why I think 80's just so likable. Whether she has two lines or she's the lead character in it, you can just tell she just loves what she's doing and she commits to it so hard.
That's such a good point, because when I was watching it, I was literally thinking 80 is the person that I feel like is thankful that she gets to do this every day, even though it's really hard.
Yeah.
She just embodied this joy of comedy when she in this, all of her roles, but this one for me.
That's great. I feel like I just got this really vivid picture of like 80 waking up in the morning and just being like,
I love my life.
Well, time to go to work. like birds sing and like swoop down and like help her get dressed. I don't know. It's been a long day.
She deserves that.
But yeah, I think everyone's performance in this was great. The lines that they gave Cecily were just so wild and all over the place. And her, like, when she just lies down on the table face down, and like everyone's commitment was really great on this. But yeah, 80 came in and stole the show on her little what are those called? The Rovers?
Electric wheelchair.
I wanted to
don't
come
know.
up with something fun, but
The
I didn't.
Rover.
The Rover.
I think it's a Range Rover.
Whatever.
It's a Land Rover.
No, it's like, okay, we'll talk about it later. I'm going to look this up. There's a bunch of old ladies at the Grand Canyon, and they're screaming about their electric scooters. If you know what I'm talking about, please back me up in the comments, because I feel crazy right now. Anyways, let's talk about the Goomahs.
Goomahs.
The Staten Island Goomahs.
Goomahs.
Claire Foy, I think, was best in this episode when she was doing a not British accent.
Yeah, I didn't like the sketch, but I loved her.
Yeah.
And Kate, obviously, I loved how she looked. I do like that. Brings up an interesting point. I think when she was doing her normal accent, it was probably like a comfort zone and it was an easier role, but this really was more unique. I think they could have written her in way more sketches after seeing this one.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed. Like you said, her accent, like that American Southern accent, and the one before, like she almost seemed most comfortable when she wasn't doing just like her own voice, which I guess makes sense because she is so strong of an actor that like if you give her something opposite or weird or different, that she'll be able to handle it.
And it's kind of going and she'll be more in character.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I agree. This wasn't the best sketch. I feel like any kind of like Italian sketches or mafia sketches, like they're few and far between when they work. I think they try them a lot, but it's hit or miss for when they work. But it's always going to be like an Italian New York accent is always funny when you say certain words, when you yell. I mean, Pete coming in and the way that he was just yelling, like this was of course made for him. I thought the performances brought it to life, but you know, they're just doing a cable show, and they're like, hey, we're Goomahs.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then, so the last sketch of the night was a holiday message from the ladies of SNL. A tribute to Robert Mueller, saying, all we want for Christmas is you. I agree.
It's crazy watching the news, and you're like, wait, is it happening?
Every time I get a CNN alert, I'm like, yes.
Is the impeachment happening?
And I feel like this song, like their musical numbers, whether it's digital shorts or when the ladies just come out and you know do a song like this, are always just so on point. And I'm actually kind of surprised it didn't get a bigger laugh or a bigger applause when they did the reveal of Mueller's painting coming down.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it kind of like was like a little chuckle, and I was like, what are you dum-dums doing? Laugh.
Laugh, you fools. Laugh.
Laugh, peasants. I was a little bummed by that, but I loved so many Cecily unhinging during this when she just kept going and they had to like calm her down. And then she's like, and Ivanka's emails. Just completely
oh my
losing it.
gosh, the irony of the emails. Cecily was me in that moment, because what the heck?
For real though.
The hypocrisy.
All right, well, let's jump back to the World War I sketch, the War in Words. We're gonna do an anatomy of a sketch on this one, mainly because of escalation. So I know we always end up talking about escalation and like the beats of a sketch. This was one of those sketches that doesn't have your standard like kind of cold open of the sketch, the 3 beats and the button at the end. This was pure escalation. So they started at the bottom and then just kept working their way up. And it's a good example. I know a lot of times we always talk about how weird we like sketches to get, which I do. I like it to just be going this way and then just like go off that way, and you're just like, what happened? But this was such a great example of like keeping a sketch grounded while still having it escalate. Because like just some of the things that I wrote down were like, first she didn't write back to him, like only a couple words, and then she says will do to like elaborating more, and then she sends a baby picture of herself, and you know, like it gets kind of creepy there, but then it's like she's with another guy, and then the other guy actually is the one who's writing the letter back, and then you know, like she's in trouble with the law now, and then she joins the German army. So It just, the way that they went back and forth, they never took too long on either one. The longest amount of dialogue was Mikey's first bit, which was the setup of him being this loving husband. And while that escalation was getting crazier, they almost had like a de-escalation of the way he was signing his letters. You know, yours most affectionately, lovingly, your husband. And then at the end it was just your husband underlined. So that was kind of like going down. So I just felt like Claire Foy was great in it, just being very like aloof and just like, oh, and you at first think she's like this very classy, lovely lady who's gonna write back to her husband. But I thought Mikey was really good in this too, because that's kind of a hard thing to do when you're just kind of talking to yourself and getting that angry. So between the performances and just the way the direction that they took this, I think this was probably my favorite of the night too.
I just absolutely love the way you break down these sketches. It's so spot on. It is so true. The way the whole thing was about escalation and de-escalating with the writing. It was really well done, just in terms of writing, the more you say that, and really well acted. I think that Claire was just so fun and in a great premise. Like back then when you had to write letters, I'm so impulsive. I could be like, I want it now. What's the answer now? And you just have to wait while you're at war, wherever it may be. You're waiting for your response. Now it's like I don't reply, and in 2 minutes someone's like, can you confirm?
Yeah.
Hold on.
You're just staring at your text combo waiting for the 3 dots to appear.
Yeah.
He didn't have a 3 dots, but yeah, I think that. Oh, and I loved the line of P.S. How is World War I going? He's like, why would you call it that? Because you didn't think about it at first. Then you're like, oh yeah, wait, she doesn't know that there's only one.
And we named it. Yeah, and he's like, you think there'll be more?
Yeah. So it was like little like side jokes like that didn't have to do with the overall escalation or like the premise of the whole sketch, but just like little tangents like that would really just be good for a quick laugh, and then like right back onto that like escalating scale that they were doing. So I really enjoyed this one. It was fun.
Totally.
And actually, if you guys want to watch like a really awesome sketch for escalation outside of SNL, David Cross did one called The Audition. And I won't say anything more, but that is like similar to this one, just like the perfect escalation through and through.
Cross?
David Cross does it, and it's called, the sketch itself is called The Audition.
David Cross.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wrote that down,
So
so
I
that
highly
gave you
recommend
guys
that.
time to write that down.
That's why we did this. So let's see, do we have any news and gossip this week?
No news and gossip, other than you guys should see The Spy Who Dumped Me with Kate McKinnon. It is out on different streaming sites now for you guys to write. It's really, I don't know why I didn't get more talk. It's a really just funny movie. There's no like mind-shattering moments, but it's funny, and Kate killed it.
I feel like, yeah, when it came out, there wasn't a whole lot of hype about it, but I think, yeah, what is on... I know I saw it when I was scrolling through the 5,000 things.
I got it. I watched it on Amazon.
Okay, nice.
To write. It's not on any of the free streaming right now.
Cool. We can always use some more Kate in our lives.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, do you have an MVP this episode?
Ooh. That's hard. I'd probably have to
Yeah.
say Kate, just because we were lucky enough to see her in multiple sketches in every character and in multiple characters, and she just sets the bar so high.
She does. Agreed. You know what? I want to go with Kate, but I'm going to go with Cecily on this one. Just because she was so unhinged as her characters in a lot of these moments. So I really thought that she kind of like saved a few sketches at different times. And like I said, the unhinging and the Mueller song at the end really just tickled me.
She's like the backbone of this cast, I think, the most solid.
Yeah.
But also I want to shout out Beck Bennett because I just love his comedy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't been like doing more outside of it. And who knows, maybe it's scheduling, maybe he just doesn't want to right now, but I'm kind of surprised. I think he'll be a big feature guy, a big blockbuster feature kind of guy. But all right, so next week we have Jason Momoa.
Yes!
We will be watching that one in slow-mo.
I'll be becoming a mermaid just in time for that.
And then musical guest Mumford & Sons, so I'm pretty excited for that one. And I actually just recently saw an interview with Jason Momoa where he was talking about he's like a huge SNL fan.
Oh,
huge.
really?
So I'm very excited to see his monologue, and like I feel like he's just gonna be like this giant, very excited little boy.
See, this is why I love him, because he's that enthusiastic about literally everything. If you go on his Instagram, like when he talks about people, when he talks about projects he did, he's just a light. He just has no ego, it seems, and just loves life.
Yeah.
I love that he's an SNL fan.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked for next week. So make sure you guys tune in to catch our after show where we're gonna probably just gush about how great he was in it. Hopefully.
Yeah.
So Steph, why don't you tell us where we can find you on the internet?
You guys can find me at Steph Sabraw on Instagram and Twitter.
Nice, and you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Amy Maestri. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.